Well, good evening.
Good evening.
We are happy to be here. We're going to punt. So I know there's some folks in the audience that are doing some administrative intern stuff or whatever. They're going to see how you just sometimes you got to back up and punt when stuff doesn't go as planned. So we have a guest with us tonight that may or may not talk with you, but she's coming from the volleyball banquet, so we want to get her back. And originally we had scheduled her part to go last, but we're going to switch that. So here in a second, you'll see me flip through a whole bunch of slides, and we'll get to the back part, and then we'll work backwards. So it'll be all right. Yeah. So anyway, I'm glad to hear Tony talk about the bus. Whack a bus. I think we've got it planned already. So we're excited to have that at the high school. So thanks for pointing that out. So we are excited to present to you about Rolla High School. Lots of stuff going on. Lots of really good stuff. To condense it down into 10 or 15 minutes, we're just going to give you a quick snapshot tonight because there's just so much stuff that we'd love to share with you. I put in front of you before you arrived tonight a couple of things, and Josh will talk about one of them. The other one is just a copy of our goal sheet, and so it's a front and back copy. It says Rolla High School on the top. We're going to refer to some of those things tonight, but we're not going to read to you all of them just for the sake of time. We're also going to, as we proceed through the presentation tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about how Matt did it. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about last year and just kind of show you some of the things we were able to meet and even some of the things we weren't able to meet. And then talk about this year as well and kind of see how that transition goes. So that's a little bit of the format of how you'll see on the slides. I do want to mention, as you've heard, how the goals are set at the high school. There's a couple of things we do. One, we take all of our teachers, divide them into groups. We review all the goals from last year, and then decide as a group collectively. Those groups decide, hey, these are the things we need to focus on. These are the things we met. These are the things we need to get rid of. These are the things that are just embedded in our culture now, and they're not really a goal or a strategy. It's just something we do, so we get those out. From there, it goes to our leadership team, and the leadership team takes all the suggestions from the groups, pairs them down, puts like things with like things, and we wordsmith it. And from there, that's what the document that you have in front of you. So that gives you a little bit of a background of how the goals have come about. It's not just from us. It's from the staff and what they feel like. The second way that some of these things that you'll hear tonight come about are from our survey. And you heard that mentioned a couple of times. The survey, one of the things that we pulled this year from the survey, and it was a positive thing, but a lot of the survey talked about the positive culture at the high school. And if you come to the high school, we hope that you experience that. We hope that students, when they come, parents, when they come or when they call, even if they've got a gripe, they're going to get a positive experience of some sort. So that was a plus. However, one of the things that as a staff collectively and coming from the survey is that we don't want to just have a positive culture. We also want to have academic integrity. And so while, kids like to come to the high school, and we want that, we want them to have fun, we want to maintain the academic standards that we set and that we know that are important. And so from that survey, you'll see that embedded in what we're going to talk about tonight. So you'll see that culture piece, you'll see a little bit of that academic piece, and it'll kind of give you just a snapshot of where we are. So I'm going to fast forward real quick here. It's actually going to kind of work out good because we were going to use our goals in reverse order, and now we're going to do them in somewhat numeric order. So I'll let Josh talk a little bit about goal one from last year.
All right, so goal one last year, we always have had the attendance goal, and last year we decided that attendance should really fall under the full positive school climate. That if we have a positive school climate, that attendance should kind of fall in that. So we want to encourage all of our students to be here 90% of the time. And that was one of our goals from last year. It'll continue to be a goal. But this is just some of the data from the last 3 years, and we have met that the last 3 years. So obviously that's a good thing. We want to continue that. So far this year it has looked like we're on track to do that, but just something that always is in the forefront of our minds. The second and third part of the goal from last year, the one was to increase counselor support groups. Going into last year we only had one group, and that was a grief group. Throughout the year last year, we added 3 more. So we had grief. We have a stress less for stress and anxiety kids. We have a study skills group. And then we have a group for family change. Those were all added last year. This year, with the help of Jamie and Pritchett Consultants, we've added a group for students that we have suspended for drug or alcohol things, and they have a group that they meet also just to give them a little support. In the past, we've suspended them, and we want to make sure we keep track of them to kind of see how we can help them going forward. Next thing last year we wanted to continue to look for ways to increase student involvement. We kind of had a big presentation on that last year. That's something we're proud of how involved our students are. There's a lot of things that we are doing. We're always looking to add new clubs, get kids involved in sports. Obviously, we know if kids are involved in things, they're going to be more successful. This year, one of the cool clubs that's been added is it's a Bulldog Adventure Club. It's an outdoor activity club. Just a couple weeks ago, they went to Hahatonka and hiked. It was like 32 degrees. I don't think I would have, but they're braver than I am. So going on to this year, we kind of looked at what we met last year, went towards this year with what new goals we could have. Again, we're going to try and encourage our students to be here 90% of the time. That'll be there just as long as we have students. We want them here. Investigate behavior management opportunities. We've recently kind of looked at everything we're doing consequence-wise and seen if it's best for the student, if it's changing the behavior, if it's making the student learn from the behavior, and if we're really just messing the student's career up too much also. So we've looked at from Saturday school to OSS. Just yesterday we had a conference call with an administrator from Springfield that they went away from all outside of school consequences. So we talked, because they used to have a Friday school after school that's similar to our Saturday school. So we're even looking at some opportunities this spring to maybe go away from Saturday school. It kind of just piles on students sometimes that we don't know that it's really the best thing for them. So we're really just kind of trying to look and see what's best for the kid. Obviously they need a consequence, but we need to not mess up their career with the consequence. So I go back to that. On top of that, we're also, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you remember what Mr. Storm said, Dr. Fulton, they're all talking about the alternative program. We just asked them is it meeting the needs of our district? And we haven't refreshed it for a while, so let's just take a step back and look at holistically, consequence-wise, what are we doing and why are we doing it? And does this program meet our needs? So somewhere down the line you will hear a full presentation on some recommendations to refresh or refine the alternative program, but a lot of it has to do with culture and attitude and whether if just keep doing the same thing, getting the same results, will continue to frustrate us. So that's
our students have changed, the community's changed since all that stuff was created, really. And we've also, along with the junior high, looked at different OSS options. Springfield and other districts have what they call ASLs, alternative suspension locations, where kids that are suspended can still come to school at a different location, receive credit, receive attendance credit. So they're out of the building. Obviously, they're serving their consequence, but we're still educating them. So we're kind of looking at some options for that, too. The last piece of Goal 1 that we're wanting to hit on this year, and it was one we started last year, was to continue to build community and alumni engagement. Obviously, we started the Alumni Association last year. We have a ton of alumni in the community. It's been a pretty awesome thing that we've got off the ground, and we're just continuing to build that. We're going to get a little more detailed into that here in the next few slides. The Alumni Association last summer, at the beginning of summer, we were at about 1,100 people. We're at 1,600 members now, and it's pretty cool just to see where everybody is from. It's all different ages. They're everywhere across the country. And we do a newsletter through email once a month to them. We also create a Facebook page just this fall that we're up to 800 followers that really has gotten a lot of traction. Veterans Day, we sent out a Facebook deal asking maybe there's a veteran to send a picture. And we got quite a bit of pictures. It said it reached 3,000 people. So it was really cool just to see some of the former students that had served or were currently serving. And that's something we're continuing to do. The Parents of the Alumni Association, something that we started this summer. We're going to look to push it a lot more this spring with our parents that are going out. We're hoping over the next 4 years we can get a pretty good database underneath the Alumni Association of our parents of alums that this spring will hit the parents that are leaving, and then we'll do that the next few years to get quite a bit there. Obviously, as we've talked in the past, the parents are important too. We want them to stay involved in our school, even if they don't have kids still. Hall of Fame is something we're doing. February 15th is going to be our first induction of the Hall of Fame. We've located a spot that we're going to do it outside the gym, is where the actual location of the Hall of Fame is going to be. Nominees are ending November 30th, and we have a committee together that's going to select 5 to 10 for our first one. We're going to do that in December. We're looking to have a pretty cool banquet over the junior high. The Cool thing about this is you're going to hear another thing. Our leadership class is going to help us with this. They're going to put on the banquet with the help of us, and so we're excited about that. It's something we look to hopefully sustain over quite a while. Lastly, the coolest part about the Alumni Association is the projects that we've kind of taken on. Last year we had a plan of an art gallery. We were lucky enough to receive a donor last spring to fund all of the art gallery, so we have started on that. Here's the picture of that. The coolest part about these projects, and again, we can't say enough about the guys over at RTI and RTC, is just the collaboration with our school and RTI and RTC. It starts with our drafting program. We have a student here, Bailey Graydon, from the drafting program. We're going to get to her in a minute. They kind of come up with the schematics of what we want. We tell them, hey, this is what we want. Then they take that to the construction trades program. They kind of tell us what it might cost. And then now we're to the point that we got the funding for the art gallery. This is down in the first floor hallway, kind of by the locker rooms. Now that is our masonry class coming over, tearing out bricks. They made quite a mess, set off the fire alarm, but that's okay. We got their attention. They might recruit a few more students. But they're doing the construction of it. I mean, it's completely by the students. It's funded by a former student, and it's something that will help our students. So it's pretty cool. We hope that to be done this spring. So the next part that we're looking to do is to redo our library. So before I get too far into that, I'm kind of going to show you where we've come, why we've gotten there. This doesn't completely have to do with the library, but it's a really cool picture that kind of shows you how far we've come. This is 10th Street in Holloway. The house on the left, I just confirmed with Mr. Fridley, who lives right by it, that is still the same house there at 10th and Holloway, the white house on the corner. You can see the little white path is Holloway, so that'd be the gazebo, the Rotary gazebo would be right across the road there with the baseball field on the left. The big building there you see in the middle is the old high school, the original high school there by our Circle Drive, or in our Circle Drive basically. This photo was taken in 1926, so that, again, it show you how far we've come with our building. I went the wrong way. This here is our original library when our building was built in 1954. This is actually Ryan Hickerson's classroom right now, right outside the activities office. It was housed in there from 1954 until about 1960. Then that became offices between the principals and counselors' offices. Going back to this picture real quick, something we're also doing with the Alumni Association, Jaron Hicks, who is up in the booth up there, is putting together he's putting together a historical timeline kind of video tour of the high school. Ginger Priest and Sergeant Rapier walked through the building with he and I about a month ago and kind of get some history of what used to be where. So we're working on that we're going to put out to the alumni, that people that haven't been in the building in so long, they'd like to see what it looks like now. We're hoping to do that to all the buildings throughout the district. So this here is the library from 1960 till they built the three-story addition in 1990. As far as I know, this is over around where Dr. Heaton's room is, the science wing that was added kind of in 1960. This here is the library as it is now from 1990 till now, so we're about 28 years. And it's been pretty much the same throughout that time. And obviously technology has changed a lot in that time. We have 12 desktops in the library right now, but we want to increase the use of technology up there. And this was actually, I might be stealing from Stephanie a little bit here, but this was one of our technology goals last year that our teachers all met on and worked on, was the library. So it takes you to this, and this is where all the attention needs to go to the young lady over here. Bailey Graydon, I promise you would not have to speak, but she may ask questions if you guys had them. We did the work last year with the library, again with our teachers, and they kind of talked and decided what space would work for them. And Miss Kirkbride's our librarian. She kind of took that to see how she would like it. So this fall, I was like, hey, we need to get a sketch together of what we want so we can kind of put it out there, because this is our next project from the art gallery to seek donations from the Alumni Association. That's what the brick money will go to. If we have an alum that just wants to do something to help our students, this is where we'll point them towards. So we want to get some sketches of it. So we looked at the drafting class of Meg and Bill Bro over at RTI and said, hey, let's get a student that might want to get with you and work on that. So we got Bailey, and we definitely hit a home run, because you guys have all these pictures before you. We don't have all these in our presentation, but her and Miss Kirkbride got together and decided kind of what they could do Bailey did a whole lot of research of what different things are in new libraries, and she came up. Bailey did all these renderings. She gave me drawings. She's now. Did you do a video walkthrough, or did you get that? Yes, she did. I'd asked her to do a video walkthrough that maybe we could show, but it was 28 minutes, so it was a little lengthy.
So with Bailey's, as we were looking at this plan, we said, yeah, it's appropriate to show this, because Bailey, what we would tell you is that when Dr. Dare and we get with the district architects and we start to hone in on, the library was part of the long-range facility plan improvements. So it's very appropriate to have this discussion, whether it comes out of district funds or whether it comes out of a supported, community-supported bond issue. It's on the 10-year facility plan, so it's absolutely appropriate to do. And we have plans to have the district architect here to look at this, and we'd like to invite you over to kind of sit in on every discussion we have about improving that facility, whether it leads to a bond issue over a year from now or not. My understanding, you want to do this for a career, so we might as well introduce you to somebody who's worked in our district since 2003 as a district architect. So I assure you that we'll get you out of class and get you back. We'll write you a pass so you're not tardy or counted absent. But I think that'd be a good way to connect your efforts to some real discussion about how it looks in the field. So I'm assuming you'll be all right with that. Okay.
So we don't have any pictures of this. You have all those. Obviously, that's not exactly how it may be, but it definitely is pretty awesome renderings that we can show to the people that want to see what we're wanting to do. At this time, if you guys have any questions for Bailey, you can ask her. We're going to have to we'll let her go back to the volleyball banquet because we pulled her away from that to come over here.
And the footprint of the drawings does not exceed the existing square footage that is already there. Mm-hmm. Now, in the facility plan, you guys can stop me anytime, but there is a option to go into the classrooms next door if we relocate performing arts to another, which allows the library to expand. And so these plans, while just like the facility plan, are not hard and fast, they are concepts to continue to develop. So some of this can be done even absent of outside support, but something that we can do as a district, which we've done in several of our buildings anyway. So very good.
Question I would have for Bailey would be the data that you based your design on or sketches on. That would be important information to transfer to the architect. So your sources of information, what needed to be in there, and that would be great. Yeah, you can tell them. Yeah. You'll have to step up here.
Come up.
Well, we can take the microphone back to you.
You have to violate the promises made to you by Dr. Pritchett.
Can you say that question one more time?
Okay, that's fine. I will. So, how did you arrive at your design? What information did you get from the library and others to decide that this what the library needed to look like in the future?
She took a lot of different pages out of magazines and showed me like different modern seating arrangements or different types of shelving or more of a open concept, and she showed me just pictures of what she wanted from magazines, and I basically went from that. So.
Great.
And designed it. And designed it.
Then designed it for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Great. Put you on the spot. We're glad.
I didn't want to put you on the
spot. Thank you.
So just to wrap that up, because if you heard in there, there's so much collaboration that's going on. And again, we wanted to work with just in the framework of the space that's there right now. So that we had a plan, and if somebody walks through the door and says, "Hey, I've got some extra money I want to throw at the school," we're ready. But keeping in mind the overlay of the facility plan and how that may play into it. But again, as I stood back there and listened to Josh talk, and knowing Bailey what part, that's what it's really about, is just including those our own folks in doing this kind of thing. And if we don't do this through the Alumni Association, and it comes through a facilities plan. So much so, I mean, that's fine, but it was still the collaborative work of our students, you know, with the help of our teachers that really brought this to be. So that's the part that, you know, it's kind of like your kids, you know, I'm proud of that from our standpoint of our folks are the ones that doing it, just like the art gallery that you heard. And that's the scope of really what we're talking about with our kids. And you can tell, and unfortunately the general public watching at home they don't see all the other pictures, but you can tell there's some detail in some of that to where she really put some time into it and some expertise. And so for that, you know, I want to say thanks to her, but also just to keep in mind for all of us that that's what it's about. It's about working collaboratively together with the, you know, the people who have that expertise. So anyway, I just want to thank you for coming over, and we'll move on unless you have other questions.
One other comment, the picture from the Henderson Library brings back old memories of my days in study hall.
Yeah, you're good.
Thank you, Bailey.
Thank you.
All right, so let's see if I can get back in our presentation since we kind of flip-flop stuff. Closer, closer. Goal 2 is where we're headed. And so goal 2 is kind of our technology goal, increasing technology for classroom instruction. So when I came into the high school last year as an administrator, that was kind of blessed upon me, as I kind of am a math techie person, which I do love doing that. So it's very awesome to see the evolution that we've had even since the 4 years that I've been out of the classroom, of things that are happening technology-wise with our teachers and our students. So last year's goal in 17-18, part of that was to keep increasing the number of devices, and that's going to be an ongoing thing. We don't have a device cart in every single classroom. We're getting there, but not completely. We added 5 last year, and we already have some need for some more. I know that Mr. Heaton and Mr. Reitzman are sharing a cart, but they've already came to me and said, boy, it would be really nice if I can have my own cart, because then I could do this and this and this. And so we are hoping to meet those needs. So that's going to be an ongoing goal. Improve and update the Media Center to include establishing a tech hub. And so you've just heard about updating our Media Center, kind of modernizing it a little bit. But the part I want to focus on is our tech hub. That, again, came from a vision of our teachers, knowing that they had students that didn't have the opportunity to work on their electronic assignments through Google Classroom and such, because they don't have a device at home. And so we do currently have 3 Chromebooks that come out of the library as a checkout. We have a contract that the parent and student have to sign and all that kind of stuff, but they do check those out with Mrs. Kirkbride so that they're allowed to take those home and do some of their work at home. So that's a good thing that we're actually going to kind of, again, keep adding to, because 3 for 1,300 students is not many. So we're going to hopefully increase that number. Survey teachers to solicit tech training ideas. We did meet this in one of our faculty meetings. We did have our teachers kind of just brainstorm about different ideas of how they would like their tech training structured. We did take those ideas to our instructional facilitators and to the tech department, and they've kind of redesigned how their tech trainings are being held this year. And so we feel that we met that part, and it's always nice to have that input from our teachers to kind of give those that need to know what things that they are needing to help them out. So going into this year, again, we still have the increased technology for classroom instruction, and underneath that, we want to explore using in-house experts to enhance computer and technical skills of teachers and staff. Brenda, Jeannie, and Christopher are awesome. They are 3 people to our entire district, though, and so we wanted to kind of try to tap into some of our in-house experts. We have many teachers that are on iTeach. Many of them have been on iTeach for a year and then aren't on it anymore, and then we have those that continue to be on it from year to year. And so how can we use those people to kind of eliminate some of the load off of Brenda and Jeannie and Christopher. So we just actually did this Monday. In our faculty meeting, we ended up having them break into departments and say, give us a list of the things that you are an expert in. And Dr. Pritchett was very good about saying, it's okay to talk about yourself. You come on out and tell us what you're good about. I want everybody to kind of give us, because it's hard for us to kind of talk about what we're good at doing. And so he wanted to pull that out of our teachers. So I compiled a list of all of that, and we have a pretty extensive list that we're going to share with our staff so that if they're having trouble on Flippity, they can go and look at who the teacher is that knows how to do that. So we also had asked them to express the needs that they are needing still. If there's, and some of it actually kind of coincided with the expert side, so people were wanting more things on YouTube or Google Classroom or something like that, even more extensive stuff. And so we can kind of go through those needs and be able to kind of foster that throughout the year for those that are experts in that. So that's an exciting piece that we just added this year. Tailored tech, our next one would be tailored tech training specific to the subject grade level and or the experience level. And so this is kind of going back to last year's goal when we surveyed those teachers. This is the restructuring that the tech department has allowed our teachers to kind of choose this year as to, number one, it's a half-day training now for them, where it used to be a full-day training where in the morning was pretty much learning some of those tech ideas, in the afternoon was some professional development time for the departments to kind of work through things together. Kind of that professional development piece we still want to have for our teachers, but it's not necessarily on that same day. Science, I know, took a day of just professional development for them. They were in the lecture hall. I went in kind of a couple times throughout the day, and they're like, man, we got so much stuff done. They were collaborating. They were doing curriculum on a course that they're wanting to bring back next year and stuff. So the professional development within our departments is still happening. It's just not necessarily on that tech training day. But we have also gotten a lot of good feedback about the half days of that tech training. They go in, they hit it hard those half days, then they can, spend half day in their classroom, but then they're using those tools as well within the class. And then again on goal number 2, we kind of this moved into, since we didn't meet it last year, we're still going to improve and update that media center to include establishing a tech hub. And so the one thing I didn't say about last year was we did get those 3 devices for students that can check out, but the problem that we're still needing to find a solution for is for those students that don't have Wi-Fi at home. So, now we have the device we can give them as long as they have the Wi-Fi at home, but if they don't have that Wi-Fi, how can we service our students with that? So there's many options out there. That's just one of those things that we're just going to kind of search and look for this year.
So what's a tech hub?
Tech hub is basically, it's kind of a term, just basically that you have devices available to be able to allow students to check those out. So one place for that, it's like a checkout. Yeah. Yep.
Do any schools have like evening access to a tech hub where they, instead of taking it home, if they don't have Wi-Fi, where they can come in and have access evening hours?
We don't have anything established.
No, I know we don't, but
yeah.
Have you heard of schools doing that?
They're called like Internet Cafe.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are somewhere.
They have a night where somebody can come in to school at a certain section.
Volunteers.
Wi-Fi is sectored off differently. Students don't have access to the entire network, but it's quarantined. And there are schools that have that.
One of the issues that you run into a little bit with that is transportation.
Sure.
Unfortunately, sometimes if you don't have access to the internet at home, getting either you're working a job or the transportation to get to and from school. So that's another piece we're trying to tackle as to even with our academics, which is sometimes students can't stay after school for whatever reason because they're working or they don't have transportation. So providing the Wi-Fi or figuring that out is a big key. And there are schools that do that. And so we've been talking with them about how they do it, trying to work it into our system.
Part of the tech plan, too, is try to figure out you can get devices to plug in the wall and allow that to happen. Whether Fidelity, Ginger was talking with Fidelity about the capability of doing that. So hopefully that'll evolve. But the percentage of students that have access to internet is pretty high for our district. It was in the 80s, I thought, 80, almost like 87, but it could be off a little.
Well, the final goal for tonight, Sherry and I are going to kind of tag team on it, deals with student performance and student achievement. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have a lot of data to share with you because of the situation the state's in right now with the data. I think it's all Craig's fault, I think. So
He admitted to it.
I'm just telling everyone.
Just tell them it's your fault. That's good. That's what I've been telling people, so we're on the same page. So, but obviously, goal number 3 ties in with academic performance, student achievement. And we want to make all students career college ready. That's our big goal. So a couple of the things last year that we did, one was we were working to increase our offerings, not just AP and dual credit, but our honors classes, classes that we worked with RTI a little bit and some of the things that they were doing, again, just to enhance the opportunities for our students. And we feel like we met that. We did increase it, but obviously, that's something we're not just going to stop and go, okay, well, we've got enough now. We're continually looking and seeing how we can increase those offerings. And again, a lot of that's driven by student desires and student needs. Classes that were offered 10 years ago, some of them aren't offered now because it's just not something students are interested in. And so we are always talking with them and getting information from them about the courses that they're interested in. The other thing that, again, it's kind of met, but it's still ongoing, is just to review our curriculum and analyze the data that we have when we get it. You heard Stephanie talk about, our teachers are doing PD stuff. They're taking days, they're taking half days to do just that. And so we encourage them. I'll have a teacher come and kind of apologetically ask me if it's okay if their department can take a half day or a full day to do, and don't be apologetic about that. Just let's put a plan together and let's do it. And we're seeing real success with that. So again, that's something we feel like we did meet, but that's an ongoing thing because we don't want to stop getting better. So those were a couple of the things that we felt like we wanted to share with you tonight about Goal 3. I'll let Sherry talk about this year's goal to start with. Again, it's the same overall goal, but the strategies, we'll touch base on a couple of those.
Get my cheaters on here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the tutoring opportunities that we have available for our students at the high school. We've got quite a buffet reaching those students. We just had a discussion about the needs of our students beyond the school day. We offer a lot of things for our students during the course of the day and also beyond for those that are struggling in various areas. The more informal would be the just one-on-one teacher tutoring as needed with students before and after school. Another offering that we have as well is seminar. It's a structured tutoring session in our math and English departments. English offers it 2 days a week after school, and math offers it 4 days a week. And the students, there's a few different ways that they can come to that. The first way would be for the teacher to put them in seminar and tell them they need to stay after school. The student can also voluntarily go into seminar to get a little extra practice or a little extra help from their teachers. And then the third way would be as if we recognize as administrators, and I'll go into how we catch those in just a moment, that they're struggling with their grades, and we can put them into seminar and have that mandatorily, is mandatorily, or I don't think it is. It's mandatory for them to attend. I think I just made something up there. We also offer, of course, Pride Time is offered 4 days a week as a part of our regular schedule. And during that time, students, every 3 weeks, they rotate, go through what we call Pride Shuffle, where students are placed in classes, or the teacher can request that they come to their class to get extra help in areas where they may be struggling or may be behind and need a little extra time for that. Also, we have some things available during that time that we have a little bit of peer tutoring that happens with our National Honor Society. Mrs. Grisham and Mrs. Virgin take some of our NHS kids into the lecture hall, and we service anywhere from 15 to 20 students. They're referred by their teachers to get a little extra help, and those are some really terrific kids in there doing a lot of great work. Data does show that kids learn from their peers, sometimes better than they do from teachers. They're kind of, got the kid speak going on. So they kind of can break it down more on their level, maybe have that same experience set, skill set, maybe approaching that and helping them break it down. And Mrs. Grisham's really great at the math. I'll leave her to the math. I'm not a math gal. We also have some activities that some of our student leadership clubs, our Link Crew is scheduling an activity. It's called Cocoa and Cram. And that's where they're going to have a couple of nights after school where they're going to cram for finals and have some cocoa, kind of have a little socialization as well. But giving those students an opportunity, again, for some peer helping there at the high school. Another way that we support our students as far as, not necessarily, it's not tutoring per se, but during the course of that Pride Shuffle, Mr. Smith brings to our attention those students who have 3 or more Fs. Those students are basically divided between the administration and counseling staff, and we monitor, basically mentor those students, pretty much ride their tail about getting their work turned in and getting those grades up. And our goal is to, first of all, to basically attack the highest F, the highest percentage that we can bring up to a passing grade, and then move on to the next score. So we have a great deal of success with that at the high school. And I have to say I'm very impressed with the level of support that our teachers at the high school give our students. They're pretty hard pressed to not be successful. There's a lot of layers of support there to keep them from failure. So I'm really pleased to be a part of that. So I'll turn it back over.
One of the things that we heard from teachers and students alike were a few years ago we were mandated to give the ACT during the school day. And for various reasons that came and went. And one of the things that we've discussed, again, back to student achievement is, and this became a goal or a strategy of ours, is to explore ways to get that back in. Now, obviously, with that comes money, and that's obviously a factor. But we don't want that just to be a factor whether we do or don't. And so right now we're going to spend this year, and we've already had some discussion about how we could possibly do that in the future, whether that's a student sign up voluntarily and pay, whether that's we just budget it and do that sort of thing. So that's just one of our strategies, and so more to come on that, but it did rise to the level of discussion, and the teachers particularly felt like, hey, we should put that in there. So we'll be doing that. And then the other thing is, I'm sure Craig has talked with you some about the virtual learning and how that's, the legislature, the legislative bill that was passed last year that said you have to offer online learning. So we're investigating that. We've got kind of some things in place temporarily, but we plan to see how we can explore that and expand that throughout this year. So that will be something else that we do. Student performance, student achievement, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you at least some data. And so I'm going to shoot up a chart here that talks just a little bit. I hope it's the next bullet. If it's not, we'll backtrack. But it's one of the things that's inherent to where we are is our student athletes have to leave a lot early. And if you've had a student at the high school or if you've been around the high school much, unfortunately because of logistics and demographics of where we live geographically, we miss school. And but I'm proud to report that again, it goes back to that culture and academic integrity piece, is that our student athletes really take their academics seriously. So I want to show you this slide that shows you our fall sports teams and their collective GPAs for their team. And these are varsity teams. And then out to the right is the conference rank. So there are 10 schools in the conference. And it shows there we ranked first in 5 of those sports. I feel a little bit bad for girls cross country and volleyball because they are 6th. But if you look at their GPAs at 3.7 and 3.5 and you're 6th, I don't feel too bad. So I just wanted to show you that just as a kind of a point of order that, the academic piece is extremely important to us and to our students. Obviously, that comes from the parents and the value that they place in academic success. But overall, we're proud of what's happening at Rolla High School. That gives you kind of a little longer than we'd hoped a snapshot of it, but we appreciate your time. And at this point, we'll answer any questions if you have any.
I have just a quick question. How much does it cost to take the ACT?
Well, if you sign up, it's $50 right now if you just sign up to take it on a Saturday. and $30 if you missed the deadline to add on to that. I might know that here recently.
Sorry for asking.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So I'm well versed in that. So it's just right around that $50 mark.
And one thing we're looking at, the free reduced lunch, if they take it on a weekend, they can get a reduced or free rate. But the school day test does not.
They don't offer that.
So that's kind of one of the things we want to do.
In your ACT discussion, what were some of the things that the teachers saw after you gave it that made them want to give it again? I mean, what were some of the benefits that they saw from that?
Well, just the benefits that we saw when we first gave it was that every student, you know, oftentimes a student thinks, well, I'm not college material, but hey, they take it and all of a sudden they do well on it and go, hey, maybe I can do that. And so I think that's the big driving force, that teachers see that there are students that they feel like might take it given a different circumstance. And again, some of those that don't take it, that you really want them to, oftentimes they work on those weekends, and they have to work. It's not that they just, have a part-time job that, but they're working to help their family, to support themselves often. And so some of that, again, went to the discussion of, well, maybe that daytime ACT might be something that we explore.
Unlike our state assessments, it's a consistent measure.
Well, seriously.
Yeah.
State assessments, we can't rely on them from year to year.
Well, it's definitely a good measuring stick when you look nationally, because it's the same across the nation. So
We discussed back when the state failed to fund that, what it was going to cost, and I forget what the number was.
It's around $15,000.
Okay. I should have said that then.
And we already have a prep class, right?
we do have an ACT prep class. You've heard tonight about kind of a revolving, look at programs that you do. We used to offer ACT prep as a, an evening thing or a weekend. We had a few teachers that would do that, but students again stop signing up for that because there's so many online resources. Some take the class, and so we went away from that went away from the extra stuff right now because students weren't seeing any value in that, because there's just so much online stuff that they can do to prepare. So.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well,
Great
thanks for
job.
having us.
Thank you all. Lots of good things going on there.